one thing I did find was like at first weird, but like also like kind of endearing was the way that the feudal Japanese people speak. Because it is so funny. The grandma whose name is Kaede. Yeah, like at first I was like, okay, this isn't gonna last too long. But though she's like, methinks ye must be able to conquer yon demon over there. It's just like, holy shit, are you kidding me? Like, Kaede learned English from a medieval times. It's ridiculous. Welcome to Mortified, the Friendship Quest, a podcast where two long-distance friends bounce media recommendations all in hopes the other will like it. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Leyla.
And this week we watched the 2000 anime Inuyasha about the classic story of a girl and her dog boyfriend. Remember, you can help us on Mortified Legitimacy Quest by liking this video, subscribing to our channel, signing up for our newsletter, or following us on Twitter at MortifiedPod. So Leyla, how, I'll do the summary, but like, tell me about how what is your history with Inuyasha?
I want you to summarize it and give me your raw impression before I start talking about it.
Okay. So Inuyasha. So there's this girl. Her name's Kagome, and like a lot of protagonists in anime, she is a like middle schooler. She's 15 years old. She's just about to go into high school, and she one day on her birthday she falls down a well and ends up in I think 14th century feudal Japan. It happens to the best of us. And Kagome on this quest, she I guess she like has this gem or something, this four souls gem or whatever, and like that's really important, especially because her reincarnation, whose name is Kikyo, I believe. Like her soul, Kikyo's soul lives in Kagome now, but that's bad because Kagome is back in the time where Kikyo killed Inuyasha, who is a half demon, half human, bad guy, and Kagome somehow wakes him up. He tries to steal the gem from her. They have all sorts of shenanigans. At some point, Kagome breaks the gem into X number of pieces, probably at least 100, and then they have to go and collect the gem shards in order to prevent all the demons from becoming super powerful and destroying the past. And there's like a lot of romantic tension between the two of them. Does that sound about right?
Yep. It's the Shikon Jewel of Four Souls.
Yes.
And Kagome is Kikyo's reincarnation, but yes, you got it.
Yeah, that's what I meant. So yeah, it's Leyla, this one didn't hook me, unfortunately. It was, I definitely suffered from the fact that I only watched the first 15 episodes. So like some of the other characters that were in the movies that I watched also like didn't show up. But like, I feel like I still sort of got the gist, which it seems like sort of a Monster of the Week setup, which is like, hey, like they have to collect the gem shards, and like every arc is like a 2 or 3 episode arc where it's like, this monster has the gem shard, and it seems like they're going to do a cool and new thing, and then Inuyasha and Kagome are going to fight about it. But in the end, he always comes in and saves her, and she gets a bow and arrow and uses that at some point, and they begin to assemble like a small group of, demon followers, and also a grandma who is cool, and that seems like their journey, and I think the movies expand on it in a pretty interesting way, and then I'm glad that I did watch, but I also thought the movies were like a touch too, they were a lot too long, in my opinion. I think that the show is much better for the fact that it had like a time constraint, because like they didn't have like these, in my opinion, I thought the movies just like suffered from an excess of like nothing happening.
I will say, I do think the second movie, just to clarify for the audience that is familiar with Inuyasha, the movies I had him watch were the first one, Affections Touching Across Time, just because I feel like that one does a pretty okay job of just giving you like a adrenaline concentrated dose of what the series is all about in like none time at all. And then the Castle Beyond the Looking Glass, because I think the Castle Beyond the Looking Glass is just like a legitimately good movie.
The thing about Castle Beyond the Looking Glass is that like I felt like the fight sequences went on like too long, and like there are very good parts in both of those movies where they like get at the nature of Inuyasha and Kagome's relationship, and like in Looking Glass, like Kagome does, like, not only does she tell Inuyasha she loves him, but she kisses him, and that like seemed extremely significant, and then they did not address it the rest of the movie, which I was
never again.
Yeah, like it's just like, wait, hold on, we're just gonna let this slide. So yeah, I don't know, it didn't. I wish that they had like kind of developed into a more complex understanding of like what their relationship would be like, because they, you know, they are the typical like, oh, she's always nagging me and he's always rude to me, but also like they always stick with each other no matter what. And yeah, I don't know, I texted you, I was like, this is an extremely, it reminded me a lot of the David trilogy. We talked about that previously with Empire of Gold, but it seems a lot like the Nari what's his the Nari Dara relationship, where like Dara's like a grumpy, moody guy, but he still has deep feelings for Nari, and Nari can make him do whatever she wants. Inuyasha similarly is bound by not only the fact that Kikyo's soul, Kikyo's the woman who like sort of killed him basically, is now reincarnated in Kagome, like, but also there's like literally a necklace around his neck that he can't take off, and she can just make him sit whenever she wants, which is very funny because he's a dog, and she's like, sit boy, and he'll just like fall crater into the ground, which is fun.
It is fun. It's one of the more charming little gags that they have in the show. So to address your earlier questions, like what is my relationship with this series? So I had no supervision as a child. I think that's a very important piece of context. I am an immigrant. My mother is an immigrant. And while she was learning the ropes of America, like I was just kind of free to fuck around, I guess, as a kid. I had a wild childhood. I got away with a lot of like weird benign shit. But so I had no bedtime, and as a result, I got to watch Adult Swim a lot. And at the time, Inuyasha and Wolf's Rain were airing on Adult Swim. I was like, the reason I thought this was going to be kind of a fitting episode was because, like, if you were obsessed with Shaman King, I was obsessed with Inuyasha. And I think there is a picture, but when I went to summer camp, we all had to dress up as an animal.
What are you saying?
And this is the only time I ever went to summer camp, and I designed the most anime-ass, like, Inuyasha-inspired outfit, and my mom sewed it for me. Oh. And I did the Naruto run coming out into our little lineup. I loved Inuyasha, so good. So it was just a series I, like, really loved, and I think I fell off, watching it right when all the filler started happening, which, like, if you don't know how Inuyasha is structured, like, the full series is about 150 episodes, which is a lot. But, like, basically, they got to 120, and after, like, 30 episodes of filler, they were like, okay, guys, y'all, let's just take a break. Let's just pause. And they did. And then they came back with a 24-episode conclusion once the manga finished, called The Final Act. The Final Act fucks so incredibly hard. It is such a good conclusion to this series. And they came out with 4 movies. Affections Touching Across Time, Castle Beyond the Looking Glass, Swords of a Forgotten Ruler, and the 4th one, which escapes me. 3 of them are garbage. And then I really like the Castle Beyond the Looking Glass. The movies are messy and weird, and they're like retcon a bunch of lore. But anyway, so it is kind of Monster of the Week-y. In the beginning, there are longer arcs as you develop. You didn't even get to meet Naraku, who's a pain in the dick that won't die. Did you meet Kikyo? Like, not in a flashback?
Yeah, no, I got to the part where she gets like resurrected by the weird old lady, and then like her soul begins to like half of her soul is like in her body, and she's like wandering around, and she's like collecting souls like on her own.
Yeah, so like she won't die, nobody will let her rest. My how do I put this? The love of my life is in this. The standard for all men, Koga, who's just the dumbest, most devoted lesbian man I've ever met. Seen, cartoon, but he just like wears a fur miniskirt and wants to be in love with Kagome like forever. And you know what? I admire that hustle. I love him very much. He is a lesbian. Very powerful lesbian energies coming off of him. Very like, you know, quick to settle. Very devoted.
Oh, is he the guy who keeps bringing her gifts for her illnesses?
No, that's Hojo.
Okay.
Also a fucking idiot. Love that boy. He deserves so much better. Eventually gets to the point where like Inuyasha starts showing up in the modern day. All he does is wear a baseball cap to hide his ears, so he looks ridiculous, and all of Kagome's friends are convinced that he's her boyfriend and that he's in a gang and mistreats her. It is very funny. They're like, we're very worried for you, and Kagome's just like, he's just kind of rude. Like, I don't know what's going on. And then she'll be like, and then, you know, he like, he was just like so rude, and he did all this stuff, and I think he likes this other girl, and all her friends are like, we have no understanding of what's happening to you, and you're absent from school for months at a time. What's going on? Yeah, so I have been there through all of that, and there's a sequel coming out to the series in October, which I'm gonna watch come hell or high water. And that's just been the sort of like nostalgia experience show that I carry with me and have been carrying with me for 20 years now. And it's always interesting to see how it holds up to new eyes. So that is both answering how I came upon it and my relationship with it, and also why the fuck I inflicted it on you.
Listen, I made you watch Shaman King, so like it's, you know, it's a tit for tat situation. But like I don't want my impression to be like I didn't like all of it. They were just like I liked the show parts better than the movies. The movies just like in my opinion were not as fun. But like there were some really good parts of the shows that like I wrote down because I thought were genuinely funny, and like I get why you as a younger person would be interested in this, because like I mean it's got some pretty good lines, it's got interesting monsters, you know, like a pretty like at least in the first part like the plot structure is pretty, you know, samey. I'm sure it like develops into good arcs, and like that's how you got drawn in even more. But like, you know, I totally get why like a younger person would be into this. Like there's just like this one-off character who's in like 2 episodes named Amare Nobunaga, and like I really liked him because like he's just like this idiot feudal lord, and he like they meet him, Inuyasha and Kagome meet him, and he's like trying to rescue his like lady love basically, and like the first thing Kagome does is like she feeds him, and he's just like, oh, the chips potato were delicious, and then he introduces himself as Nobunaga, and I had the same reaction as Kagome, which is like, oh shit, it's Oda Nobunaga, that's wild. And then she's like, oh, can I have your autograph? And he's like, wait, no, I'm Amare Nobunaga. And then she's like, wait, you're not Oda Nobunaga? And he's like, no, I know Oda Nobunaga, and he's a big idiot. And I was just like, all right, you got me there. And then like later on, like he gets like he like gets possessed by the frog spirit, like takes over his body or whatever, and like he's like, oh, Inuyasha, please kill me. And then Inuyasha's like, oh hell yeah, I'll kill you. Do you want it in the gut or in the head? Or I was just like, and everybody's like, Inuyasha, please. bad dog. So like there are some good parts. Like
there's also, speaking of idiot people in the feudal era, there's also they meet Hojo's ancestor, and he's literally just Hojo.
Oh yeah, I saw that in the first movie, I believe, because the second movie.
Oh yeah, he's in there.
He's like, oh, I'm Hojo, and she's like, wait, are you related to that guy who keeps giving me presents? And then he's like, here's some healthy stuff for you, and she's like, oh, it's a health nut. He's definitely related to Hojo.
I'm so inhumanly glad that my wolf husband is so handsome that he broke your internet.
Yeah, seriously. He's a very sweet boy, and we love him.
He's a fucking idiot. And I'm sad you haven't met him and that he doesn't have a movie dedicated to himself, and I hope he is not in the sequel.
Really? You don't want him to be the sequel?
No, because he married an anime insert character named Ayame, and I have no beef with Ayame herself other than the fact that the writers didn't actually give her a character. So my friend Marty and I were talking about it, and we were like, if Ayame's like a really capable leader, and then he's just like radiating I love my wife energy, that's fine. But if they bring him back just to be like, gotta go back to the old ball and chain, huh? Then like, no, my boy would never.
Yeah, we only stand characters who drink heaping spoonfuls of respect women juice.
Absolutely, just fucking chug that shit. So,
yeah. So like, one thing I did find was like at first weird, but like also like kind of endearing was the way that the feudal Japanese people speak. Because it is so funny. The grandma whose name is Kaede. Yeah, like at first I was like, okay, this isn't gonna last too long. But though she's like, methinks ye must be able to conquer yon demon over there. It's just like, holy shit, are you kidding me? Like, Kaede learned English from a medieval times. It's ridiculous.
It's incredible. Yeah, Kaede's one of my favorite characters. I love when she gets hurt and Inuyasha has to, like, this is in the first, I think, of 15 episodes, she gets hurt and Inuyasha has to, like, bury her for some reason.
Yeah, no, he's like, I have to keep you safe, so I'm gonna bury you. And then she's like, well, Inuyasha, you will promise me that ye will not forget me here and leave me out in yon cold. And he's like, yeah, definitely, whatever, lady. And then, like...
She literally screams, Inuyasha, ye best not forget where ye buried me! It's incredible. It's literally my Wi-Fi password.
it's really good. Yeah, that's like there are some really charming and funny bits in this show, and I think that definitely makes up for like the parts that I didn't like as much. I mean, honestly, if I just had not seen those movies, I probably would have liked it more.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of need the first one just to, like, again, it's like that really, it's just like the most concentrated dose of, like, Inuyasha you could possibly get. Not always in the best way, but it is just very much like the good, the bad, the ugly of the whole kind of franchise. And then, I genuinely like the second movie. I think it's very good.
I mean, like, there's very interesting dynamics that they do explore in those movies because they can just make them, like, non-canonical in the TV show. And, like, they actually talk about, like, the tensions between, like, the fact that, what's her name? Kagome is, like, always sort of in the shadow of Kikyo. And, like, Inuyasha's, like, always, like, half in love with Kikyo. And, like, Kagome doesn't know how to feel about that. Or the fact that, like, they do really care for each other after all this time. And, like, when one of them actually finally voices it, like, we get sort of, like, an acceptance. We finally get that tension breaking. And it's like, yeah, finally, they got together. And then never talk about it again. Well,
because Kikyo takes too fucking long to die. And, like, again, I don't have beef with Kikyo. I have beef with the fact that they won't let her rest. She dies and comes back so many times. And, like, it's one of the faults of, like, a Monster of the Week setup where like, the same gag only works so many times. So, like, the third time Inuyasha's, like, in the middle of a conversation with Kagome, and he just, like, it's always the same thing. He stands up, he just, like, looks off into the distance. He literally sniffs because he's a fucking dog, and he's like, I have to go. And he, like, goes and talks to Kikyo, and Kikyo tries to kill him multiple times.
Every single time.
I'm just like, what? This is just... It honestly, like, the whole fucking show could have been... I'm gonna say 60 episodes shorter, if not more. It could have been. It could have been condensed into a nice, tight 52. And it would have been fine. But no, this is a shoujo with a Monster of the Week setup. So we had to just fucking stretch it out. And, like, Miss Takahashi, I respect you. She went into this not really knowing what it was gonna be. And that's fine. I get it. I love it. I've seen it. I love it. All the episodes. I've seen the movies. I'm gonna watch the sequel. You know what, fucking... Side note, I'm very angry about this. I have a lot of tattoos. I don't know if the audience would know this. Probably not. It's an audio medium, but I have 7 tattoos. And my 2 goals in life are to get a Full Metal Alchemist tattoo. It's another show I really love. And I was always like, could I get like a low-key Inuyasha tattoo that like wouldn't brand me a weeb?
No, I don't think so.
No, but hear me out. Someone did it. Someone figured it out. They got this like little on their wrist, just like the beads and the teeth from Inuyasha's necklace.
Oh, okay. That's not too bad.
I was like, that is so fucking clever, but like now I can't do it because I know it exists. Also, my wrists are full, but like, what a great little. That's my gripe about showing off my weebality.
Yeah, my wife is, you know, a connoisseur of tattoos, and she's always, you know, asking me like, are you sure you wouldn't want to get one? And I'm always like, see, if I did get one, it would be the Orochimaru curse mark that he puts on Sasuke and Naruto on my neck, and then I would never be able to go out in public again. So
Oh my god, that's my mission in life, to convince you to do that now.
No, I would never live down the shame. You did bring up one thing, which is like, I feel like we should talk about the ability of the inclusion of super smelling in media in general, because I don't think I think we should retire that superpower, because like, especially as it relates to blood, like if you have a protagonist that's like, oh, I can smell the girl's blood, she's in danger. Dude, you have to have a conversation about periods, and, like, that's no good, y'all. Like, if you're not willing to engage with the fact that, like, your hot boyfriend knows when you're on your period, like, I don't... You gotta have that talk, and I don't think that anime as a genre is ready for that.
This is where I would want... See, here's the thing, right? I would want to talk to Sierra about this.
Okay.
To your wife about this, because there are cons. There are cons to this concept that you just brought up.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, so the only reason... Dear audience, if you don't know how periods function, skip a minute. The only reason I know when my period's coming, because I have hormonal issues, is because I finish a pack of birth control. I think it would be very handy to have a man who knows when it's coming, because I also have PMDD and I get incredibly upset 2 days before my period, and I would just like if someone could anticipate my needs in that vulnerable time. And I don't know, bring me some gelato without me asking for it. And honestly, the downsides are there, but like there are also pros to this little situation you just pointed out.
Okay, so I'm rewriting your Tinder profile. Looking for a man who is big, strong, dumb, polite, willing to be able to smell my hormones.
Not like that. It makes it sound like I want him to know when I'm ovulating, which, I mean, I guess if you know when my period is, you could like math it out, but like, we're not having babies because I don't want them to be stupid and depressed. So don't want to be pregnant, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, so you know what? I'm gonna DM your wife later and be like, hey,
you know, I think she'll be extremely excited about that conversation.
Great, can't wait.
Wow. Let's see. I feel like we've touched on a lot of the characters.
Many things.
Yeah, I know. This is a wild conversation.
This is a loose one.
I was worried that we were going to have much to talk about. I was completely wrong. Real quick, let's talk about Pervert Monk and Boomerang Lady.
Oh, yo, fuck Moroku so hard. I hate him.
I only know him from the 2, entrances he had in the 2 movies that I watched, but basically, like, I saw him like hang out with this really cool like demon huntress Boomerang Lady. Her weapon is just like a fucking 8-foot boomerang, and like that's cool. And she rides on a flaming cat, and I loved that. But like Pervert Monk guy is always just like, oh, I'm gonna ride behind you and rub your ass, and then you're gonna get smacked, and like that's our shtick, and that is no good, sir.
Oh, it's worse because in the show, every single new woman he meets, by the way, some of them quite young, which feudal Japan, whatever, but like also, this was written in the 90s, Miss Takahashi, we could have done better. He asks every single woman he meets if she will bear his children.
Oh yeah, no, I had that in the notes because he, like, the two evil people in the first movie, he's like, "Excuse me, ladies, as a payment for catching this cat that we had and giving them the medicine, do you want to get impregnated by me?" Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's no good.
And Sango Sango, very cool. Not only, I'm so gay for Sango, I can't even think about her straight. Not only is she super cool, she has an actual arc that's, like, very good to me. She has a little brother named Kohaku who gets, like, possessed by Naraku. Well, she thinks he died, and he did technically die, but he comes back. He's possessed by Naraku, and then sometimes he's not, and he's just, like, this big-eyed 14-year-old. He's just, like, sister all the time, and every time she's like, Kohaku! And that's all characters do in the show, is call each other by name.
Yeah, that was a lot. You're extremely right about that.
It's the only thing they do. And then she has a different intonation for Moroku, which is Moroku. I do this all day. So, but yeah, she fucks and she's great. And, Moroku is awful. And so their whole shtick is that by the end of it, they're like super in love, which I don't understand at all because he sucks. Basically, in the epilogue, Sango, like, first of all, she almost sacrifices her dope boomerang for his dumb shit ass, which I was mad about. And then every time anything comes to him, she just turns stupid. And in the epilogue, she basically retires from demon hunting to give him 3 babies. I wish I was kidding. Kagome, gets trapped in the future because... we'll talk about this a little bit later. I do want to talk about Kagome's role in the whole thing because I genuinely love what happens to her character. But Kagome gets trapped in the future for 3 years, and, like, Inuyasha just, like, chills in the village with Kaede, and him and Moroku have this, like, I don't understand why, but they have this, like, demon slaying business that's, like, borderline a grift because Moroku overcharges for their services, which, like, they're heroes. I don't understand why that happens. Like, you just see Sango giving birth to their 3rd kid. And I'm like, what? So she just, like, retired and she just got to be a mom now? Which, like, there's nothing wrong with that objectively, but it's so out of character that it's gross and wild and I hate it. And the only good thing that to come out of that was the 2 little girls playing with Inuyasha and pulling on his ears is very true.
That's cute, yeah.
Yeah. So TLDR, Sango's great and does not deserve her epilogue ending at all.
That's unfortunate. Maybe we should just put a ban on epilogues. Like, maybe your story should just be wholly contained in and of itself.
I don't know, the Full Metal Alchemist one's really good.
What happens in that? I know, like, he hooks up with Winry at the end, but...
It's just sweet. Like, him and his brother are fixing a roof, and... they're like, we're home, and it's just, like, a nice conversation, and then, like, the end credits are just, like, a picture of all of them as a family, like, Winry, Ed, their children, Al, Mai comes back, May, she goes back, and, like, the grandma, and it's just, like, a big family photo, and every time I see it, I cry.
Okay, if it's less than 5 minutes, I'll allow that.
Yeah, it's short as hell. It's very tasteful.
That's fine. But
this was a whole episode.
Yeah, no, that's no good. So, did you want to talk about it's not Kyoko. God damn it, it's Kagome. Did you want to talk about Kagome's arc real quick before we talk about, like, its appeal to boys?
Oh yeah, just super quick. Basically, Kagome is, despite the fact that a lot of the arcs in the show are like Inuyasha leveling up his giant sword, Kagome is always the biggest threat to the big bad. And the ending, I did not expect the ending to actually make me cry, but it did, because it's basically, she goes into the jewel, to fight Naraku there. Gideon, go lay down. Go lay down. Go lay down. Go to bed. Go to bed. Go. Good dog. Yeah, so the final like arc is Kagome goes into the jewel as a priestess to fight Naraku on that plane, and it's supposed to be like the history of the jewel is that there's a priestess constantly fighting demons inside the jewel. So she goes in there, and the jewel's like, to get out you have to make a wish, and it shows her like an alternate reality and all this stuff, and like Naraku's in there recuperating his strength too. So like while she's in this alternate reality where she like goes to college, she the whole time she's like, something's missing, something's weird. And when she comes out of it, she remembers where she is, and she has to stand there and like reckon with the Shikon jewel and be like, I know better than to make a wish on you because you're just going to perpetuate this cycle again. And Inuyasha goes into the jewel after her to find her, and like the power of love brings them together, obviously.
Yeah.
But Naraku's in there, and he's recuperating his strength the entire time, and I forget what she does. I think she doesn't make a wish at all, I think is the way she gets out of there. But Naraku's like final line, because again the whole point of trapping her in there was because she's the biggest threat. Mm-hmm. Naraku's like final line after all this is just, I feel so at peace or something, and then he just like fades away in this golden light along with like all of the other souls trapped in this jewel. It was just really nice. And I just cried on the couch about it for a while because it's not how I expected this hot mess to end. But it's, I don't know. I just really like that Kagome got to make the final call.
That actually rules. I mean, like, that's another reason why if it was like, because this, I'm assuming this is like at that 24 episode, like final arc. Yeah.
Final arc.
Like this is an example of like, if you have like a limited amount of time that you don't just have to fill space, you can sort of take your plot and sort of condense it into the things you want. I mean, that's really nice. And I mean, obviously Kagome is like the protagonist, so it's fitting that she should, make that final call. But it's always with anime, you never know whether or not they're actually going to pull it off. So
yeah, and I mean, like, honestly, the history of shows stopping and then getting rebooted in anime in general is really good. Like, Full Metal Alchemist got ahead of itself, stopped, rebooted, great. Inuyasha got ahead of itself, stopped, rebooted, great. Hunter x Hunter did the same thing. Like, there was the first run of the anime that got cut short, then they rebooted it, it's great. And you know what, honestly, I'm sure Shaman King, the reboot, is gonna be great.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we witnessed what they had to work with originally. I can't see them doing worse, so...
Yeah, so, but yeah, which is kind of a nice segue into, like, marketability to boys. Because girls... Well, if you talk to people who watched anime on, like, we got into Toonami and Jetix and fucking Foxbox, I guess, last episode.
My OG.
Yeah, I was a Toonami bitch, but speaking of, shout out to Toonami for their Black Lives Matter statement.
Oh yeah, it like so almost made me cry when I saw it this morning. I was so happy about it. We'll post that in the doobly-doo, but
yeah, in the show notes or whatever. Yeah, but yeah, if you talk to like anybody who has like seen anime, like baby's first anime always tends to be like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, but a lot of people don't consider that anime because it was so popular. But then like Dragon Ball Z, oh my god, what were the other Toonami ones? It was like Dragon Ball Z, Zatch Bell, all those like Naruto.
Oh my god, I forgot about Zatch Bell. Holy shit. What a weird anime. It's
on Hulu. Anyway. I was gonna watch it in some of these weeks. But it's funny because you hear that from both boys and girls, and like if you talk to girls, then they'll say like maybe their first anime was like Sailor Moon or something, but more often than not, it was the stuff that was on Toonami, which was very shonen-y. And so, I was just kind of, like I said, I come back to the show all the time. I was just wondering, do you think that there's any marketability, I guess, towards like, do you think boys would have enjoyed this growing up?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question because like, I assumed it was like a really adult show when it was on Adult Swim, like back in the day, because like there was like actual blood you could see, and Inuyasha said the word bastard sometimes.
And there's titties.
There are titties with no nipples, thankfully. We can't have that. But yeah, like so I when I was younger, I assumed it was like a very mature, like for big boy show. But looking back, I feel like this has more like components of a shoujo show. Like, I mean, Inuyasha is very like cool. He has a big sword and he calls out the names of his special attacks like all good animes do. And like the monsters are very cool. Like there's like in the movie there's that big Mothman. There's 100 different like monster spider dudes. There's a flaming cat that I talked about earlier. Like I think the monster designs are very interesting and cool. And like there's a lot of violence. There's a lot of explicit violence. They're like, in the first 3 episodes, Inuyasha gets impaled like maybe 5 different times, and he's fine. And also Kagome gets like nailed with like laser blasts and gets set on fire like 100 different times, and she's like completely unscathed. Like her uniform holds up so well throughout the course of this show.
Yeah, that shit's durable.
Yeah, like incredible.
Also, speaking of her uniform really quick, did you ever get to an episode where she was like stripped for some reason and has to use Inuyasha's jacket as a dress?
No.
Shit is high fashion. She is a fashion ingenue and it never gets recognized. But yeah, a lot of violence was the point.
Yeah. But like, I think like something that might be a turnoff for like very young boys is like the fact that like there's this will they won't they push and pull between Inuyasha and Kagome, like that is omnipresent throughout the series, which is like they're so clearly in love with each other, but like also they're never like willing to commit to that. And I don't know, I feel like some younger boys are not going to be into that. But again, this show came out in like the year 2000. Like it is a completely different world now. If you know, I think with this sequel, like if they keep some element of that, like it'll probably have better appeal because people are like a little bit more willing to be into romance and not just straight like fighting.
Well, the sequel is about Sesshomaru, Inuyasha's brother's daughters. And Inuyasha's daughter, actually.
Okay.
They have a little daughter named Maroha, and she looks cute as shit. She's an archer like her mom, and yes, I did cry during the trailer.
Oh, it's adorable.
It's very good to me. Yeah, no, but I just think about that all the time because, like, I think young boys, like, because, you know, that sort of, like, not being into romance is taught. Just like it's taught to girls that they should be. So, you know, like a tighter version of the show, like I don't see why it wouldn't have mass market appeal, like across, well, fake, but, you know, unfortunately prevalent, like gender demarcation. So, you know, it was just something I was wondering for your take, because you were a young boy at one point.
Yeah.
Just to see if this was on TV, like, you know, would you just like watch it while you were snacking if it just happened to be on the channel kind of thing?
You
know how we used to find television.
Yeah, God. Do you remember TV channels?
Barely.
Oh, we're old. Gosh. Yeah, like that's about all I had for Inuyasha. Do you have anything else you want to touch on?
No, man, I feel like this felt almost therapeutic. I feel like I got to talk a lot about this kind of trash show that I always enjoyed. I don't know if I would. Yeah, you know, if people wanted to watch it, it's nice background noise. You don't necessarily have to be watching it. You could skip like the last 30 episodes in the end of the first series and just go straight to final act. Yeah, it's just charming and good, and it's like full of nostalgia for me, and it's just like a very classic, fun shoujo. And if you like the sort of like nerdy shit that we talk about, it's not a bad watch. It's there's a lot to make fun of, which it makes it kind of fun to enjoy with a friend.
Yeah, honestly, it is not the worst show that we have reviewed on this podcast. So like,
no,
definitely look into it. If anything we've talked about sounds interesting to you. So are we still like kind of blank for next week?
Let's interrogate that.
Cause like you brought up a long time ago, not that long ago, but like you're like, we should watch Yu-Gi-Oh! And I was like, I don't know. But then,
buddy,
like,
that was 2 weeks ago.
It feels like an eternity. But like, as we were talking about Toonami, I was thinking like, what if we just did like a mini tour of like Toonami shows that like we remember? Like,
yes.
Like that we could get a hold of, just like, you know, things that were popular in the year 2007, 2008.
Absolutely. Oh my god, yes. We're going to do a Toonami miniseries, and then we can do Harrow the Ninth afterwards.
Yeah, cause that's what I was thinking. It's like we can read Harrow at our own pace, and then like, once we're done, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, like, do you have a particular favorite in Toonami?
Let's go off air, because if anything, we can maybe, depending on the show, we can maybe cover more than one per episode if we just do like sampler sizes.
Yeah, like maybe like the first 3 episodes or whatever.
Yeah, because there's a lot of programming on Toonami, so let's figure out the structure of that off air. But yeah, that sounds like it fucks. I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, I think that'll be fun. Okay, I'll do that. All right then, we'll plan for a Toonami mini arc. In the meantime, Leyla, where can people find you on the internet?
Hey, find me at LEYLSES on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram. You can read my comic, astralheartcomic.com. It's about a disaster bisexual prince who's very nervous about everything all the time and feels like his life has already been written, and how his friends help him make that not a thing for him maybe sometime.
You can find me on the internet at AaronSXL on Twitter. You can also follow my other podcast at MBF and Me. We recently put up an episode about what did Josh make us? Well, Jesus Christ Superstar. And a lot of hot takes about Tim Rice and Andrew Lloyd Webber there. And tomorrow, which is I guess Monday, we will be putting up a mini an emergency episode about the Jerry Falwell Jr. scandal, which I thoroughly enjoyed editing. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, I wanted to end it out with this quote that I just found incredibly funny from Inuyasha's fight with Sesshomaru in their dad's tomb, which is, "Good thing you're in a grave, 'cause you're gonna die."